Listen closely. Across centuries, people have searched for foods that bring strength, energy, and long life. Warriors of old sought meat and milk. Monks chose rice and beans. Yet hidden in the simplest of foods lies a quiet force, stronger than most dare to believe. This force does not come wrapped in shiny packages or expensive powders. It sits humbly in the market stalls, costing only a handful of coins. And still, its power to build and preserve muscle rivals the finest foods known to man. I speak of lentils. Muscle loss, a silent thief, visits us as the years pass. By the time a person reaches 70 or 80, the body often begins to feel frail. Movements grow slower, and strength fades. Doctors call it sarcopenia, a condition as ancient as humanity itself, but here is the hidden truth. Decline is not destiny. Lentils, those tiny seeds of the earth, carry within them the potential to resist this decline, to preserve vitality, and even to restore lost strength. Consider this. A single cup of cooked lentils holds more protein than many expect, and alongside that protein comes leucine, the amino acid that signals the body to build muscle. Leucine is the spark that awakens dormant fibers, telling them to grow. Most believe such a gift belongs only to eggs, dairy, or meat. Yet lentils, cheap and unassuming, hold this same treasure. Across India and the Middle East, generations survived and thrived with these legumes as their foundation. Soldiers marched, farmers labored, philosophers spoke, all while nourished by this quiet food. But there is more. Lentils are not just about muscle. They stabilize blood sugar, they protect the heart, and they nurture the gut with fiber. In a world of costly supplements and trendy diets, lentils remain overlooked, dismissed as poor man's food, and yet, science continues to reveal their hidden strength. Studies show that when older adults consume legumes regularly, they maintain lean mass more effectively than many who rely on expensive animal protein. The lesson is simple. Greatness often hides in plain sight. In this video, you will discover why lentils can rival eggs as a muscle builder, especially after the age of 80. You will learn how this ancient food fuels strength, how modern research confirms its benefits, and how you can use it wisely in your daily meals. Stay with us until the end, for the final insight may forever change how you see the food on your plate. Strength does not only belong to the young, nor to those who can afford the costliest diets. Strength belongs to those who understand the quiet wisdom of nature. And lentils, in their stillness, carry a wisdom we too easily forget. Welcome to Eco Guardians, where we uncover truths that are both ancient and new. If you seek health, strength, and clarity in a world clouded by noise, then you are in the right place. Subscribe now and walk with us on this journey into the surprising power of lentils. Strength and nourishment have always stirred debate. Which food best fuels the body? Some turn to eggs, those symbols of life, dense with protein and tradition. Others lean on dairy, ancient as the first shepherd who milked his flock. Yet beneath these familiar pillars of diet rests something far more modest, overlooked and yet no less powerful, something cheaper, humbler, and still capable of giving the body what it craves. Eggs have long carried a near mystical reputation. They are compact vessels of complete protein, rich with every amino acid the body requires. For generations, they were called nature's multivitamin. But with their reputation came cost, sometimes financial, sometimes tied to cholesterol concerns, and sometimes bound to those who simply cannot digest them well. The egg, though mighty, is not perfect. Dairy, too, claims its rightful place in the discussion. A glass of milk or a spoon of yogurt delivers both fast and slow-digesting proteins. Casein lingers in the bloodstream, feeding muscles for hours, while whey rushes quickly to repair and restore. For the older body, this dual rhythm can be precious, sustaining muscle growth even during rest. And beyond protein, dairy offers calcium, strengthening not only muscle but bone. Yet here too, complications rise. Lactose intolerance shadows a large part of humanity, and for many, dairy is not an option. And so the stage opens for something quieter. something found not in cartons or on refrigerated shelves, but stacked in sacks and sold by weight. Lentils, beans, or peas, foods that cost far less, yet deliver protein in respectable amounts. For every 100 grams of dried lentils, one finds nearly 25 grams of protein, alongside fiber and minerals that eggs and dairy cannot match. They are not complete proteins by themselves, but when combined with grains or seeds, they rival the most celebrated foods. Science tells us that the amino acid leucine, the key trigger for muscle growth, is present here as well, not only in animal flesh or eggs. The question then is not simply which is best, but which fits the life you lead. Eggs and dairy bring quick, concentrated nourishment, but the cheaper legumes offer sustainability, accessibility, and a depth of nourishment often ignored. Across centuries, civilizations thrived on these humble foods, building not only bodies but cultures. To see their value is to remember that strength does not always come dressed in gold. It often appears in the plainest of forms, waiting for us to recognize its quiet power. Power often hides in the smallest of things. Within the great family of proteins, one humble amino acid stands apart, whispering a command to the body, grow. This messenger is leucine. Without it, the orchestra of muscle building plays without a conductor. With it, even the aging body can summon new strength, new fibers, new vitality. Leucine is the spark. When it touches the cells of muscle, it activates a pathway called mTOR, the signal that tells the body, now is the time to build. In youth, the body answers this signal easily. In age, the ears of the muscle grow dull. Older muscles resist, requiring more protein, more leucine, to hear the call. This is why elders often lose strength, even when eating enough food. The message fades. The spark is weaker. And yet, with the right sources, the flame can be lit again. Most people think of meat, fish, or eggs when they hear of leucine. These are indeed rich, but they are not the only answers. Nature has spread leucine generously, even among the foods most overlooked. Lentils, soybeans, peanuts, and chickpeas all carry it within. A bowl of lentils, paired with rice, delivers not just protein but a balanced profile of amino acids that awakens growth. Soy in its many forms, milk, tofu, tempeh, provides leucine in amounts rivaling animal products, yet often at a fraction of the cost. Cheese and milk, too, remain strong allies. Cottage cheese in particular is dense with leucine, its slow-digesting casein feeding muscles through the night. A spoonful before rest becomes not just nourishment but a quiet promise of repair. Even humble peanuts, sold cheaply by the handful, hold surprising amounts, proving that luxury is not required to meet the body's deepest needs. Science shows that older adults may need around 3 grams of leucine per meal to truly trigger muscle synthesis. This is not an impossible number. It may be found in 2 cups of cooked beans, in a serving of soy, in a scoop of cottage cheese. The key is not extravagance, but consistency. To feed the body regularly with these sparks so that the fire of strength never fades. In this way, leucine becomes more than a nutrient. It is a reminder that power is not owned by the wealthy or the young. It belongs to whoever learns to listen to the subtle laws of nature and to draw energy from the simple, abundant foods the earth freely provides. There is a strange beauty in the simplest of things. We often believe that strength must come from rare powders, exotic meats, or costly diets sold under bright lights. Yet, the earth whispers another truth. Sometimes the food that builds resilience, restores vitality, and feeds the body most faithfully is the cheapest of all. Consider the lentil. Small, unassuming, sold by weight in sacks that seem almost endless. For only a few coins, it offers what the body craves: protein in generous measure, fiber to steady digestion, iron to nourish the blood. But more than its numbers, it holds balance. A single cup of cooked lentils delivers nearly 18 grams of protein, more than enough to rival foods that cost 10 times more. When paired with a simple grain like rice, it becomes a complete meal, a harmony of amino acids that tells the muscles, grow again. Across civilizations, lentils have been the food of both kings and peasants. They sustained armies in ancient times, monks in their quiet monasteries, and families in villages where abundance was measured not by wealth, but by nourishment. In every era, they proved that strength was never the gift of privilege alone. What makes them remarkable is not only their nutrition but their accessibility. Unlike eggs, which may rise in cost, or dairy, which may be out of reach for some, lentils remain steady, abundant, and forgiving. They store well, cook quickly, and blend with spices and herbs into countless forms. Within their plain skin hides a deep lesson. Power does not always roar. Sometimes it waits quietly in the smallest seed, ready to remind us that the path to strength can begin with what costs only pennies. Strength in the later years of life is not a lost dream. The body still listens, though more softly, to the signals of nourishment. What it requires is not extravagance, but wisdom. Among the secrets often overlooked lies the power of plant-based proteins, steady and abundant, waiting to serve even those past 80. Legumes, grains, seeds, these are the quiet architects of resilience. Lentils and chickpeas provide steady protein, while soy in its many forms brings one of the rare complete plant proteins, carrying all the essential amino acids. Quinoa, though ancient and humble, rivals animal foods in its balance. When these foods are combined, a simple meal becomes a powerful instrument, awakening the body's ability to build and preserve muscle. Science reveals that older muscles demand more protein than those of the young, not just in volume, but in quality. Plant-based proteins, when woven together, answer this call. A bowl of beans with rice or oats stirred with soy milk creates a symphony where each amino acid fills the gaps of another. The result is harmony, sufficient fuel for muscles, bones, and energy alike. There is also the gift of digestion. Plant proteins carry fiber, easing the body's internal rhythms, stabilizing blood sugar, and nurturing the heart. For elders, where balance is fragile, these qualities matter as much as strength itself. Cost, too, whispers its own wisdom. While meat and dairy often strain the purse, plants remain abundant and affordable, their benefits not diminished by their low price. Thus, in the garden and the grain sack, one finds secrets that defy age. To choose them is not only to eat, but to align with the rhythm of nature, where even in the winter of life, new strength may quietly bloom. There is a curious strength hidden in foods we take for granted. Milk, white and simple, has nourished humankind since the first herder knelt to drink from the gifts of his animals. Cottage cheese, thick and unassuming, appears plain upon the table, yet carries within it a quiet power that science only later came to understand. These foods are not exotic, nor do they demand wealth or ceremony. They are everyday companions, yet behind their ordinariness lies a force that sustains both body and spirit. Milk is not only liquid nourishment, it is a balance of proteins, fats, sugars, and minerals that nature designed with a certain symmetry. Within it are two forms of protein, each playing a different tune in the body. Whey, fast and fleeting, rushes quickly into the bloodstream, feeding muscles almost instantly after it is consumed. Casein, slower and more deliberate, lingers, releasing its amino acids gradually, extending the period of repair and growth. Together they form a rhythm of nourishment, a pulse that supports the body not just in the moment of eating, but long after. Cottage cheese, born of milk, is even more remarkable in its simplicity. Its soft curds are almost pure casein, making it one of the most effective foods for sustaining muscle growth through the long hours of night. For someone in the later stages of life, when muscle loss creeps silently with age, a small bowl before rest can become an ally, ensuring that the body continues its quiet work of rebuilding even in sleep. Few foods offer such a gift with such little cost or preparation. And beyond protein, dairy carries other treasures. Calcium to fortify bones, vitamin B12 to keep the nervous system alive, potassium to steady the heart. These are not luxuries but necessities. Especially as years advance, where eggs bring a sudden burst of nourishment and meat a dense supply, dairy gives a steadiness, a slow unfolding of support. It is this constancy that makes it a hidden champion. In villages and cities alike, from ancient shepherds to modern elders, milk and its curd have stood as symbols of sustenance. They remind us that the extraordinary often hides within the ordinary, and that power does not always arrive in grand forms but in simple bowls and glasses, offered quietly, day after day. The question is, not only what we eat, but when we eat. Protein, that building block of strength, does not work like a switch that can be flipped once a day. It flows into the body, used in waves, and its rhythm matters as much as its source. The body is a temple of cycles, breathing, heartbeat, waking and sleeping, and protein, too, follows this law of timing. When we are young, the body is forgiving. A large meal once a day might be enough to trigger growth and repair. But as the years pass, muscles grow resistant, their ears less attuned to the signals of protein. A steady intake becomes essential. Instead of flooding the body with one grand feast, it is wiser to distribute protein throughout the day, small offerings given morning, noon, and night. Each meal, if it carries 10 to 20 grams of protein, awakens the muscle-building signal again, reminding the body to stay strong. This is where cheap sources become a hidden blessing. Eggs, though rich, are not the only answer, nor are powders sold at high cost. Lentils, beans, peas, and soy all stand ready, inexpensive yet powerful. A bowl of oats, stirred with soy milk in the morning, offers protein enough to begin the day's work. At midday, rice and beans, or bread with peanut butter, can deliver the next wave. In the evening, a cup of lentil soup or a spoon of cottage cheese before bed continues the rhythm. None of these require wealth, only awareness. Science speaks of leucine thresholds, the amount needed at each meal to truly switch on muscle growth. For older adults, this may be 2.5 to 3 grams. Reaching it is not a matter of eating rare foods, but of combining humble ones wisely. 2 cups of cooked beans, a serving of soy, or a portion of dairy can meet the requirement easily. The key is consistency, not extravagance. Cheap sources also bring with them gifts beyond protein. Fiber steadies digestion and blood sugar. Iron and magnesium strengthen blood and bones. Antioxidants protect cells from the slow burn of time. Thus, in seeking protein, one also receives balance, a nourishment broader than the sum of its parts. It is tempting to think of food as isolated, to measure only grams of protein or calories consumed. Yet the body is not a ledger, it is a dance. When protein arrives in steady intervals, when it is drawn from sources that are both affordable and abundant, the dance continues with grace. Muscles remain alive, energy steady, and even in the 8th or 9th decade of life, strength can still be summoned. To understand protein timing is to understand that the body is a clock, and each meal is a chime that keeps it awake and alive. To recognize cheap sources is to see that nature has already offered us everything we need. What remains is not to search endlessly, but to listen, and to align our meals with the rhythm already within us. Strength does not come from food alone, nor from movement by itself. It is born from the meeting of nourishment and effort, from the harmony between what we place into the body and what we ask the body to do. Resistance training, the gentle art of pushing against weight, awakens the muscles in a way that food alone cannot. Each repetition is a signal, a call that tells the fibers to grow, to repair, to prepare for greater challenges. Without this signal, protein drifts through the body, unclaimed and unused, like wood left unburned. Yet, training without food is equally incomplete. The muscle may be stirred, but without building blocks, it cannot rebuild. Here, cheap foods step into their rightful place. Beans, lentils, peanuts, and soy, all accessible, all abundant, provide the amino acids needed for repair. A few coins worth of lentils after a simple session of lifting or pressing is enough to spark growth that rivals costly diets. It is not grandeur that the body demands, but consistency. The beauty of resistance training is that it asks little in tools but much in attention. A chair, a wall, a pair of bottles filled with water can be transformed into instruments of strength. Combined with steady meals of legumes, grains, or cottage cheese, they create a cycle: stress and recovery, effort and nourishment. This cycle is the secret by which even an 80-year-old body can regain vigor. What emerges is a partnership. The strain of training opens the door, and food walks through to rebuild. The cheapness of the foods does not diminish their power, it only makes them more democratic, more universal. Strength, then, becomes not the privilege of the wealthy, but the inheritance of anyone who learns to pair effort with the quiet gifts of the earth. The truth is clear. Age may slow the body, but it does not end its ability to grow stronger. Myths tell us that muscle building after 80 is impossible, that only youth or expensive diets hold the secret. Yet the facts remind us otherwise. With resistance training, steady protein, and even the cheapest of foods, the body can still respond, still adapt, still thrive. Strength does not belong only to the young. It belongs to those who choose to nourish and move with intention. If you found value in these insights, let this be your reminder that change is always within reach. Support our journey by liking this video and subscribing to Eco Guardians, where truth, health, and wisdom meet. Together, we will continue uncovering the paths that lead to lasting strength and vitality.